The desirability of reducing our carbon footprint is generally recognized, but the related and equally urgent need to reduce our water footprint is often overlooked. Recent research has shown that about 27% of the water footprint of humanity is related to the production of animal products. Only 4% of the water footprint of humanity relates to water use at home. This means that if people consider reducing their water footprint, they should look critically at their diet rather than at their water use in the kitchen, bathroom, and garden. Wasting water never makes sense, so saving water at home, when possible, is certainly advisable. But if we limit our actions to water reductions at home, many of the most severe water problems in the world would hardly be lessened. The water in the Murray-Darling Basin in Australia is so scarce mostly because of water use in irrigated agriculture. The Ogallala Aquifer in the American Midwest is gradually being depleted because of water abstractions for the irrigation of crops such as corn and wheat. Much of the grain cultivated in the world is not for human consumption, but for animal consumption. In the period from 2001 to 2007, on average 37% of the cereals produced in the world were used for animal feed. However, surprisingly little attention among scientists or policymakers is given to the relationship between meat and dairy consumption and water use. It is becoming increasingly relevant to study the implications of farm animals on water resource use, not only because global meat production almost doubled in the period from 1980 to 2004, but also because meat production is projected to double in the period from 2000 to 2050. This paper reviews recent research carried out regarding the hidden water resource use behind meat and dairy production. First, the water footprint concept is introduced, an indicator increasingly used worldwide to assess the water resource implications of consumption and trade. Second, results from recent research are summarized, indicating that for assessing the water footprint of meat and dairy, it is most relevant to carefully consider both the feed conversion efficiency when raising animals and the feed composition. Third, the water footprint of animal products is compared with the water footprint of crops. Next, the water footprint of a meat-based diet is compared with the water footprint of a vegetarian diet. It is then shown that understanding the relationship between food consumption and the use of freshwater resources is no longer just a local issue. Water has become a global resource, whereby, because of international trade, food consumption in one place often affects the water demand in another place. Finally, an argument is made for product transparency in the food sector, which would allow us to better link individual food products to associated water impacts, which in turn could drive efforts to reduce those impacts. The water footprint concept is an indicator of water use in relation to consumer goods. The concept is an analog to the ecological and carbon footprints, but indicates water use instead of land or fossil energy use. The water footprint of a product is the volume of fresh water used to produce the product, measured over the various steps of the production chain. Water use is measured in terms of water volumes consumed or polluted. The water footprint is a geographically explicit indicator that shows not only volumes of water use and pollution, but also the locations. A water footprint generally breaks down into three components: the blue, green, and gray water footprint. The blue water footprint is the volume of fresh water that is evaporated from the global blue water resources. The green water footprint is the volume of water evaporated from the global green water resources. The gray water footprint is the volume of polluted water, which is quantified as the volume of water required to dilute pollutants to such an extent that the quality of the ambient water remains above agreed water quality standards. To ensure that scientifically robust methods are applied and that a fair comparison can be made between different water footprint studies, the Water Footprint Network and its partners have developed the Global Water Footprint Standard, which was launched in February 2011. The water footprint figures presented in this paper are based on this standard.